Good evening to all. Welcome to this channel. Today, it's our pleasure that we have with us most inspiring personality, monk of Ramakrishna order, and he is serving now as a Secretary Maharaj of Ramakrishna Mission Shillong. How far it is concerned with education, in this 75th independence, India's independence celebration, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, we are also celebrating one special session, that is Rashtriya Swarnim Shiksha Mahotsav. And today, being a guest, he allowed us to talk with us. Maharaj ji, Swami Hitakamananda ji, being Secretary Maharaj of Shillong Ramakrishna Mission. He also served various educational institutions under the control of Ramakrishna Math and Ramakrishna Mission, especially Coimbatore complex, as well as he also served at Agartala Mission and Ramakrishna Mission Gangail and Ramakrishna Mission Dhaleshwar, also being a secretary, and now he's with us. And he has contributed for NEP also. When at Agartala NEP meetings are conducted, he also given some suggestions on this. Now we will talk with him and we will collect his views and opinions on our NEP to make our educational system as a gold standard one for future and in a holistic approach. So over to Maharaj ji. Maharaj ji.
Anjan, thank you for seeking my involvement in the Rashtriya Swarnim Shiksha vision. I am a teacher by temperament, and out of my 46 years of monastic career in Ramakrishna Mission, I have worked for 38 years or 30 little more in education institutions, both schools and colleges. And I have a very close involvement with students in managing them in residential complexes. I had an interest all through in Swami Vivekananda's concept of education, which is summarized most briefly as man making and character building, a education that will, first of all, make a student conscious about human dignity and the brightest possibilities of a human being under any kind of threat or complexities. Education system should ensure that. And he gave as an example that according to him, Swamiji says, the ideal education system was the Gurukula system that was prevalent in India for thousands of years, which got distorted for so many factors, under so many international foreign rule and other things. But I think because of Swamiji, we have got back our originality and chance to rejuvenate our education system, which I must appreciate the present central government tried to shape up in the formal national education policy under one of the brightest minds of India, Dr. Kasturi Rangan of ISRO. I have gone through this policy time and again and tried to understand, is there anything that can be added to this system? The purpose for is, as one of the enthusiastic workers in this field, Mr. Anjan Banik approached me. I think to create a responsible citizen for future. The early childhood education and elementary level education is most vital period. And if I am permitted to quote Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, he said, in fact, he said it in answer to a question put by an 8th standard girl to him at Rajkot when he visited the students there, that you are talking about India 2020, that when the country is full of corruption, then how can you do this development or convert this country into a developed country from a developing country? How to stop this corruption? Then Dr. Kalam would throw back this question to the guardians and education is present there. None of whom come forward. Then he gave an answer. Only 3 persons can stop corruption. Mother can do it to the maximum level. Father can do it. And elementary school teacher can do it. If people handling children, both boys and girls, in this earliest stage, particularly from early childhood till the age of 12 or 13 years maximum, these people should be ethically perfect, caring, but not indulging in any kind of so-called too much of affection and other thing, not coddling, but becoming strict at the same time becoming considerate to the students, whether they are students or whether they were own children. And if these children find in this early age their parents, their teachers, most ethical, responsible, self-respecting, showing respect to others, conducting themselves in a most responsible manner, thinking not only of themselves, but involving students in as much activities as possible in serving others. So the purity of character, purity of purpose, good conduct, time management, doing everything punctually, showing children or helping children to maintain themselves in an orderly manner. These good habits formations are most important. Another most important component is they must, without any hesitation, tell students and teach students that just as you or we all want you to succeed in life, in spite of our best effort, sometimes things may go wrong. So you should learn to handle failure as well and not to get over elated when you are succeed or you have success. Similarly, disasters, death of close relatives, sometimes totally unwanted behavior from peers or relatives or others. These are all indispensable components of life, but you should not allow yourself to be overwhelmed by these external situations. They should be taught to control their mind, be very selective about reading, be selective about their close association, choosing their friends. All these things and helping them to love reading excellent books, good books. This reading habit formation, all these things teacher cannot do in schools, only parents can do. Because our students, particularly early childhood phases, where all the foundation of life is built up. At this time, children mostly remain in homes, only 5 to 6 hours in the schools, or at best 8 hours in the schools. So the way guardians keep rapport with parents, if they find anything wrong in the behavior of the child, they must immediately get in touch with the teachers guiding him. And if any teachers complain, they should not take it as an offense, which often we find parents doing. But they should think that this is an assistant, because ultimately, if the child develops a bad inclination, parents will be the worst sufferer of that. Because after 5, 6, 7 years, the teacher will not be with the student. So parents should always regard students most important friend to be the teachers. And even if teachers sometimes out of impatience do some unacceptable dealing with their words, parents should not take it as offensive, but they should calmly settle with that. So all I want to say is, in our Gurukula system, at the from 9 to 13, children used to go and stay with the Guru's family in a most ideal atmosphere where plain living and high thinking at the moral of life, they are extremely moral people. There is no involvement of monetary exchange. In this pure atmosphere, children used to get groomed. In modern days, this is not possible. But only parents themselves have to take the responsibility to be ideal parents whom their children all through their life will consider as their role model. I think if we try to search our souls and see our inside, we should agree that we fall short of this quality in many respects as parents. So my most important addition that I wish the education authorities should add to the education policy, new education policy, while preparing the detailed curriculum, teaching parenting to existing parents as a remedial measure on a regular basis in all institutions, particularly in early education institutions. At the same time, from 11-12 standard, from which period generally first girls, then our children enter into adult life, and within 5, 6, 10 years they become parents. Before they become parents, naturally, they must have a good education about parenting. Whatever their parents by trial and error are doing to them, that should not be their idea, which now happens. So education system must include parenting as a subject. I repeat, our education system must include parenting as a subject right from 11, 12 up to any higher level of courses. Then those who have become parents without knowing perfectly how to handle children in their adolescence, how to free them from unduly acquired bad habits or associations, how to listen to them carefully, how to slowly make them their own peers and most trusted companion. These are the most important things. I have handled, or I have rather come across many exceptional parents, not too many, of course, but quite a good number. And I have always seen the most important thing, these parents, in spite of their all limitations and all busy activities, they made them always available to the children, and they never created any threatening atmosphere to their children. So children, even if they did anything wrong or got any wrong punishment from school authorities or outside, they never hesitated to confess it to their mothers and to their fathers, particularly mothers. So whether the growing girls and growing boys, they must know what the most important role as parents. Whether they have efficiency or not, they will become parents, most of them. But if they are given some sort of guidance from the education system itself, mandatorily, then I think they will be able to groom their children at a later period to become good human beings, much better than what their parents did for them. So, this is the most important concept that I wish our education policy to adapt. Another important thing is that there has been a lot of distorted and manipulated facts in our history and culture over years, done in a very dishonest way. If the school system doesn't teach these things, parents themselves should take the responsibility to groom their children and teach their children about our tradition, Indian tradition, the attitude of unity in diversity, attitude of living peacefully with people of varied opinion, varied habits, varied language, Nana Bhasha, Nana Mahat, Nana Paridhan, all that it is said beautifully. So these two things, first of all, and the most important thing is the nationalistic outlook must be inserted or instilled in children when they are young. And always the teachers cannot do it because teachers themselves are deficient in many respects. The guardians themselves should take this responsibility because it is their responsibility to groom their children as children who love the nation, love the country. So the nationalistic outlook, love and respect for our own traditional cultures, faith in God and faith in oneself. These things should be taught by parents. So preparing a very calibrated, detailed syllabus for parents so that right from higher education till they become parents themselves, they must have a very clear concept about how they are going to contribute or offer their own children as ideal citizens before the nation. Something that they didn't probably got from their parents. So I think two areas our educational policy should include parenting as a subject, not only through seminars and other things, but direct coaching, counseling, all this should be done to the existing parents. And secondarily, preparing our would-be parents to become ideal parents. In these two channels, the parenting should be included in our education system. I think that will make the education system more complete than what it is now. Because I always dealt with students in the early years, so I understand this problem, and this is my suggestion, rather humble suggestion to the authorities who are planning our education, giving shape to our new education policy. Thank you.
It's our one kind of blessings from Hitakamananda ji Maharaj, a monk. I can say better, is a teacher also. Today it's our most uh, blessed period that Maharaji allowed us at his premises at Shillong Ramakrishna Mission Complex to talk with him. And he told that in NEP there should be one special modification where parenting should be one special vital feature of NEP also for would-be teacher, would-be parents, and also for existing parents. Maharaji, I would want to know that if this NEP is mostly designed to involve science uh, and activity-based learning also, and innovation also. What is the how you will define this education system involving science, involving innovation, and involving this activity-based learning with the thought of the Swami Vivekananda, who said education is the manifestation for the perfection already in man. So, how you defined all these things from your view, Maharaj?
It's a good question. I appreciate your question. The basics is character is the most important component of a person's personality. So, what is necessary is to have a excellent character, and a man of excellent character contribute positively in any kind of situations of life. Science and technology of which we are talking nowadays, giving students more chance to express, be creative, all these things can be introduced in schools. There is no doubt about it. But to follow up appropriately these issues at home, encourage the children, keep the latest information and training facilities, guidance as available is parents' responsibility. Even if there are some little hurdles like financial or other things, unless they are willing, they cannot help the child to bring out the best in him or her. So, in this respect also, the responsibility lies on parent to take the best available facilities from the education system, be it run by private groups or be it run by government or public system. So creativity, to say in a general way, is the ability of a person to solve problems with simpler options in a less expensive way, and solving problems in totally unexpected situations. This problem solving ability, we find the maximum amount of creativity we find in mothers, how they handle their children. So creativity is not about regularly devising new devices or any other thing. Creativity, to my understanding, is innovating newer and more affordable ways and means to make individual life and collective life equally enriching. So Swamiji said educational perfection means perfection, characteristic perfection, and Swamiji said many more things. He told, I consider the spiritual development in a person's is the most important component of life. Faith in God can serve as the most powerful shock absorber when we face life in most unwanted and unexpected situations. Simple faith in God, reliance in God, and prayer, they solve our problems much more simply. When we lack those things in the name of modernity, we tend to take the help of drugs and other kind of narcotics to get or to relieve ourselves from the tension faced by us. So I think one of the most powerful shock absorbers of life is simple faith and belief in God and seeking God's intervention through any kind of religious practice that we are accustomed with. This solves our problems much better than through so-called medication or any other or counseling and other things. So while trying to combine Swamiji's idea of man making, character building education, and bringing out the inner perfection means that perfection should not come only in our intellectual side, it should be in the emotional side, it should be on the spiritual side. At the same time, its applicability in social situation around us and benefiting other people also around us with this also involvement. I think to become creative means to become extremely spiritual by mindset, not ritualistically, but emotionally, sharing and caring attitude, as Swamiji used to say, purity, patience, and perseverance, and unselfish love for each and everybody, irrespective of their caste, creed, color, etc. That is the most important qualifications for a good human life. I think that sums up both our search for creativity through science and other aspects. At the same time, delving into our own psyche and finding out what more glorious qualities are there in us.
Aristotle said the root of education may be bitter, but the fruit of education is most sweetest. We are coming to a different topic, which is most reliable and relevant to this period. This is teacher education. Swami Vivekananda himself was a great teacher of India, may not be recognized in different way, but nowadays we are redefining Swami Vivekananda as a ideal teacher, and it's our blessings that Maharaji, you are also contributed your maximum portion of life to for education, and you are uh, fruitfully involved with the education system. You are involved with the educational institutes run by heritage institutes run by Ramakrishna Martin Mission, especially Coimbatore and other different sphere of its activity places also. So, Maharaji, regarding these better features and about teacher education, because maximum school are not ideal enough for education. Environment of the school is not ideal enough in especially in different sectors. How you define what should be the policy, what should be the uh, system for the futuristic education of India, which can be groom the future of our next generation of Indian citizens and Indian students, learners. So I would like to take your suggestions for modification of NEP, which may be enlightened in this regards. Maharaji, please.
It's a good question. So now your question is how can we create the most efficient band of teachers who will help our future citizens? From my own experience, I understand as a teacher needs to be a father, a mother, and a teacher all in one. He should not only teach the subjects as per curriculum to the student, but he should be his counselor. By his own example, he should be able to inspire the students. He should be as much careful and caring and loving as mother, and occasionally becoming even little rude to the students to correct themselves for their good. So ideal mother and ideal parents should be combined with the subject experience or good knowledge of the subject of the teacher. This should be the ideal teacher, and they should pay special attention to learn each and every student as detailed as possible. From which kind of family, from which kind of parents they come, under which circumstances they live and live, persons with whom the child is associating, why these are necessary. As a teacher myself, I have seen a good student becoming all of a sudden inattentive, little restless, particularly in the adolescent period, and sometimes even before that, and sometimes after that period. On inquiry, I have found either the root of the problem was in the family misunderstanding of their parents, or bad influence of some peers, or all of a sudden he developed some unwanted associations. Now, teacher should not keep his responsibility restricted by just teaching the curriculum, but to help this student in these junctions where there is a chance of his deviation into a wrong way of life is there. Teacher has an important role to play as his guide and character. And when the student will listen to the teacher, not because of threat, not because of showing him the fear of giving transfer certificate, this thing doesn't work. Just taking the students into private and behaving them in a most affectionate manner as their friend so that the student can fearlessly express his problem to the teacher. So, so far as I know, in our present teacher training curriculums, some psychological issues like handling problem children or other things are taught, but behaving with students as parents, responsible parents, this attitude is not highlighted that much. Though for the failure of the students, teachers are held mostly responsible. So the change in this segment I want our education system to introduce in teacher training program is the teachers must be taught to become ideal parents also. Teachers who are good teachers and at the same time are good parents, there is no doubt they are very much popular among the students also. Because in the process of grooming their own children, teachers know how to handle carefully other children in different problems. So this practical experience. So in this respect, I think reading about our own literature, philosophical literature, Swamiji's literature, they can help us a lot in becoming a very sympathetic teacher, becoming a teacher with good moral character. In our education teacher training programs, teacher's intellectual ability is assessed. But whether he is a good counselor, whether he is a good human being himself or not, whether he is simply scientifically oriented, logically speaking, but he is well regulated in his habits and characters, these factors are not assessed in teacher education or teaching uh, profession, teaching certificate that is issued to the teachers. So, if we want the teachers to become character builder, these teachers also be of ideal character. At least they should be convinced to become, and they should know how to behave responsibly, talk responsibly, respect a student in a responsible manner, and how to keep their temper under control. All these things should be included in teacher training programs. Then these teachers, when they become parents, they will handle their children character in an efficient manner, and they will also be able to guide their students in trouble when they are involved in direct teaching. I think this is how we can make a combination of character building education equally applicable both in case of creating good teachers and creating good citizens through education system.
1947, India got its independence. 1948, 49, 1960, 66, 1968, 1986, and then we got final new education policy in 2020. After an interval of 38 years, India got its new education policy for a futuristic educational movement. Maharaji, I would want to know from you uh, how you defined this period difference. Would you like to prefer next education policy after 10 years, or what should be the time frame when new education policy should adapt? Because this art and this total globe is changing so frequently. So, and different aspects are coming away. Education policy came in 2020, and next feature we got, that is COVID-19, and the pandemic situation. This education system got a newer approach of online approach and digital approach. So, how you recognize this periodic table and evolve of education policy? If you enlighten your opinion, Maharaj.
Thank you, Anjan, for exploring in these areas also. What I think is there is a saying called Shubhasya Shigram Ashubhasya Kalaharanam. Any good intention should be put into practice at the earliest possibility, and any kind of evil intention before putting it into giving it effect should be delayed as much as possible. Shubhasya Shigram or Shubhasya Kalaharanam. Still, the new education policy is only is a in theory. The details have not yet been activated, but we have spent a lot of time already. So immediately we should start the education system right from the early childhood education phase, and it should be implemented without any delay at all. So this should be our attitude. Then when we progress towards, at the same time, 2 or 3 classes at a period can be taken into consideration for detailed planning and implementation. And in this way, we can go faster. Or as far as possible, for different segment, different consultant group can be created and effective implementation plan can be worked out without losing year. I wish at least within 3 years, the complete education policy should be put into effect and no more time should be lost. And the early childhood education should be put immediately, if possible, from the coming education session itself. That is my intention about the time, because we have lost a lot of time and we should not delay anymore. Once we start implementing, slowly, depending on the practical impacts felt by us or new innovations coming into the field, we can make necessary addition and alteration. But unless we stop putting it into use, we cannot really understand whether it is going to really effective or not.
Thank you, Moraji. It's a great discussion on NEP, and we got so many aspects and factors which need to be modified on NEP. And I think your blessings will be acknowledged by all of the concerned. Thank you, Moraji, for giving such a brilliant suggestions for our education system. Thank you, Moraji, once again.
Thank you also for giving me a chance to at least share my experience through your channel. Thank you.